Coming to you from a cozy little condo high atop Old Fourth Ward, Atlanta. Welcome to The Ron Show on America One Radio. Here's your host, Ron Roberts.
So much stuff to cover from over the weekend, but the story that really grabs my attention right now is the back and forth going on between the Cobb County Democratic Party and the Cobb GOP, and it all centers around District Attorney Sonia Ellen. Here to explain this in some capacity, anyway, I hope, for a few minutes, is Essence Johnson, who is the chair of the Cobb County Democratic Party. You released a press release late last week that decried a cartoon posted by an attorney in Cobb County, a noted MAGA, Megan Webb. She posted this cartoon that you believe is a racist caricature, some Jim Crow era type, mockery. Give me the background. Why is there? I mean, Sonia Allen just got elected. Why is there already this sort of vitriol happening?
You know, it's just the time that we live in. I mean, if you look at the top of what's happening at the top, I mean, these MAGAs, and I call them MAGOTs, are emboldened and want to, bring up racism and white nationalism. And I want to make sure I want to clarify this. Megan was the conduit. The person that did this is an anonymous person that did the comic. So I want to make sure I clarify that. But Megan is the one that posted it. So she is a conduit, but also she is the one that's igniting the fuel under the fire. Yeah.
So it can't help but be noticed the historic moment here. We're talking about Cobb County, a historic election of a district attorney, an African-American woman who won the general election, rightfully.
Correct.
No questions whatsoever. And now we're 7 months into her being into office, and we're seeing cartoons like this. What is the source of the animus? I mean, explain to me what their beef is.
So if you go through the comic strip or the whatever was presented, it was a lot of personnel or talking about chairs and talking about cases that happen and talking about different things. So there evidently is a gripe about some internal things. Again, she was elected 7 months ago. She is inheriting. I mean, when you get in office, you inherit the backlog of your predecessor and the predecessor before that, right? And that's just like the presidency, right? Yeah. So if there are issues, this type of communication is not the way to do it. You need to have a conversation. I'm not concerned for me about the issues that person has, right? I'm not concerned about, that is an internal, there is nothing that we could do. Again, she's very open and transparent. And if you have a problem, go talk to her. Her and I have addressed concerns that I have had with her, and it's been a very transparent conversation. And, I raise questions. So there's a protocol that you can have, but going and doing Jim Crow era propaganda. I mean, if you look at the history of that type of tactic, of that kind of, outline of pictures and caricatures and making someone's image pronounced. We have seen that during Jim Crow. We saw with President Barack Obama. I mean, that is just pure blatant racism, and that is not the way to have a constructive conversation about issues. If you're big and bold enough to do a comic strip like that and put the issues that are there, why are you not big and bold enough to address the district attorney?
Right. I'm sitting here thumbing through the cartoon, and the only folks that I see that are made to look like clowns are women of color.
And again, during the Jim Crow era, if you look at who was pronounced, they were as monkeys. And it was all about Black people with the most pronounced lips and facial features. And you depict her as a clown, which means, what are clowns? Clowns are funny. They laugh at them. And then you're depicting the DA. I mean, the DA is the one that is out there, putting felony cases and in the weeds and minutia of our justice system, right? And you're depicting her. And again, she just started 7 months ago.
Yeah, and that this is coming from a criminal defense attorney is something sort of troubling in and of itself.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm going to be just very transparent with you. I have gotten emails from friends of Megan's that have told me, literally dismissing the whole point of it. I did not go into it about the personal issues and what the comic, the outline of the information that was provided in little comic blurbs, right?
Yeah.
My only stance will always be about the blatant racism. And they took that and made it into something else, just like the Cobb GOP. I mean, on one of the Facebook pages, they called me a bigot. Essence Johnson is a bigot.
Oh yeah, that's the thing. There is the whole turning of the page to try and turn the tables on the accuser. That's a tried and true tactic.
Exactly. And I'm like, just stick to the facts. I'm just speaking about the caricature, the Jim Crow era propaganda. That is what needed to be addressed, not everything else. Because again, new leadership. Sometimes, I own a business. At times, new leadership, there's issues, there's things that you don't even know about.
It's going to be turnover.
It'll be turnover.
Yeah.
And issues that are carried over. So why not have a conversation and an open door policy? When I had a meeting with her, it was immediate. And then I also had to address some concerns just about things that were happening in our community from a standpoint of public safety. She was very, very prompt on her response time to me. She will do the same, especially her employees.
Wow. So I'm sitting here looking at Megan Webb's post. We'll share the cartoon in the show notes at ronshowatl.com and let our listeners and those who check the blog decide for themselves the validity of the. I'm sitting here. I'm still trying to figure out what the beef is. Apparently, there was a request for some salary information. Open Records Act would provide that, the staff turnover, which of course is, I think, what Megan is trying to plant the seed of discord. And again, it's natural when you have a new district attorney that there's going to be some sort of turnover, and that a criminal defense attorney who is working in that county would be waging this sort of character attack is really concerning.
And she doesn't even work. She doesn't even work for the DA. Like, this is the crazy thing about it. You're waging a war. And it's just very interesting how it comes on the cusp of the dropping of the Patel case. Again, it's a very close, knit circle, and I will call them. I call them the mean girls, because the attack that I got on myself, right, from Megan's friend, and telling me that I am, just a Black woman basically ranting for another Black woman. My role as Cobb County chair of the Democratic Party, it's what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong, right? And we need to hold people accountable. And that's the same thing that I will hold my electeds accountable if necessary as well, good, bad, or indifferent. My job is to make sure that the way that we are going into authoritarianism, we have to protect people. But just like I protect them, it's the same type of conversation that I will have if I need to address them about anything that's coming out. And the fact that I'm getting attacked and it's telling me that I'm a blatant racist because I say that caricature is from Jim Crow era propaganda. When I did my press release, I wanted to put up there what Jim Crow looked like. So you can see it's just a modern day AI version.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and AI is introducing all kinds of concerns on that end. Real quick, though,
Absolutely.
You mentioned the Patel case, and for those that aren't familiar, this involves the wrongful accusation of a 62-year-old man who had been charged with kidnapping a toddler at a Walmart or something like that. And how does this all factor into this?
Well, I think what it is, though, is, again, I will say that, this is what I've heard. I want to make it very clear that there's a relationship between Megan and the defense attorney for Mr. Patel. Okay. And so we have seen throughout the case, and I have spoken to his defense attorney whenever I was collecting information and understand where it was so I can just get it, understand before we go out and put a statement, which we did put a statement up there. Okay. Right. And that kind of started the conversation with the DA, right? Because I had questions and concerns. And so this case, was dropped by the district attorney. And people need to understand there's an education point of who actually brings up the charges. The charges were brought up by Ackworth police, then passed on to the DA, right? So investigation ensued, and now the case is dropped. My thing is, if the Patel case is it's interesting how the Patel case got into that comic strip, right? But let's talk about the other cases that have been tried, right? The other cases that are actually going through trial. And then this was the only thing that they could hang themselves on was the Patel case. that shows something that there's not much fruition behind the comic.
I'm just befuddled by all of this because, again, it's not as if the district attorney's office is up, or this seat is up for election. It was settled last November. She's newly into the business. I'm just trying to understand why this has become a shouting match between the Cobb GOP and the Cobb Democratic Party.
Even the Cobb, exactly, and the Cobb GOP inserted themselves in. I'm like, what the heck?
Yeah.
I mean, why are you inserting yourself in? I mean, but again, it goes back to they are boldened because they have a convicted felon at the top that is this carte blanche talking about all the crime in Washington, D.C. and the crime in Chicago, and Black women asked for them to come in and save them from the crime. I'm from the D.C. area. Okay. We have crime like we have everywhere. And so now what we're going to see is this tried and true of, just people being like, if the convicted felon at the top can say it, well, I can say it as well. So that's why Cobb County Democratic Committee and the community, we are going to take a stand. I'm going to call out what's right and I'm going to call out what's wrong. And if they don't like it, if that's the biggest thing that you can call me a bigot, I want them to look at what the word bigot is. And if they want to call me a bigot, if they want to call me, someone, I was actually called very naive to even make a statement by that. Call me what you want. But the thing that you won't call me is someone that just sits back and take it. I will always be there to protect democracy. I will protect it when it's right, and I will call it out when it's wrong. And that's also against my own elected officials.
Well, that's refreshing to hear. My concern is, again, we're talking about a district attorney who was just elected 7 months ago, and already there's sniping like this. This keeps folks elected to do a very important job, distracted from doing that very important job. And I'm sure Sonia Allen's probably paying no attention to this, or as little attention as possible, because she's got a lot to deal with, as you mentioned, inheriting caseload and all that. It's just deeply concerning that this is happening 7 months into.
Absolutely. But you know what, though? This is what's happening. I mean, you see it across the board. Look at what's happening to the Federal Reserve.
Yeah.
Lisa Cook.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, she's doing a job.
We do see a pattern here with qualified African American women at the federal, state, and local level.
And that is where the problem is. The problem is that you're seeing a pattern of Black women. I mean, the Library of Congress, the Kennedy Center. You see the pattern, and again, it goes back to if the convicted felon at the top can do it, then I'm gonna do it But I'd be damned if I'm gonna let that happen.
I feel you.
Because as a Black woman, and I'm gonna stand 10 toes down for what is right.
Well, listen, Essence, I know you're at a conference. I appreciate you stepping out for a few minutes. To provide a little background on this, we'll dive a little bit more into this after having now a conversation with you. I appreciate you giving the Ron Show some time this morning.
Thank you so much.
My appreciation.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Quick break. When we come back, I'm going to give you a little taste of this cartoon. And if you wanted to replace Sonia Allen's name with Donald Trump's and close your eyes and imagine, it's eerie how the hypocrisy sort of screams here. It's the Ron Show, America One Radio, Progressive Voices via TuneIn. Follow along, if you will, at Ron Show ATL on Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, Threads, Substack, Blue Sky. We're all of it. At Ron Show ATL. You'll also get show notes for each episode, this one included, at ronshowatl.com. So this cartoon that Megan W. Grout is the attorney here. Megan Webb Grout somehow got a hold of this cartoon that she's decided to distribute. I've seen it distributed nowhere else, but it was, according to her, sent to her. Someone made a cartoon just to send it to her. If you believe that, someone sent her a 16-page cartoon just for her to see, whose identity she says I will happily continue to protect. Someone just sent her the 16-page cartoon. It wasn't her that made it. Someone sent her the 16-page cartoon that shows Cobb County District Attorney Sonia Allen in a large, obese, cartoon-like clown caricature. With the poem that came with it. Once upon Cobb in a courthouse of fame, the DA's office had earned its good name. Lawyers would dream of a desk in that place where justice was steady and ran a fair race. But January came with a stomp and a hiss, and in waddled Sonia, who ruled with a fist. She marched through the door, no handshake, no smile, just pack up, you're gone, in her all-knowing style. Out went the leaders, respected and known. No values, no trust, just a chair and a throne. Forget all that teamwork, forget all that lore. Let's pick out new curtains, new paint, a new floor. quoting Allen, apparently. Well, SVU begged for more help with their files, and major crimes trudged through their towering piles. She hired her buddies, her pets, and her peers, with job titles fancier than their careers. Justice was promised, but then left to rot while victims sat waiting. Was it fair? I think not. Anyway, the cartoon continues with this the specter of the same sort of stuff that you could go back. Let's try this now by taking out Allen's name and Donald Trump. And do you think that Megan Webb Grout would share that cartoon? I think not. With Donald Trump in a clown character? I think not. Once upon the West Wing, an office of fame, the president's office had earned its good name. Politicians would dream of a desk in that place where justice was steady and ran a fair race. But in January came with a stomp and a hiss, and in waddled Donald, who ruled with a fist. See how this works? And I'm sure that a Megan Webb Grout would bristle if we continued. He marched through the door, no handshake, no smile, just pack up your gun in his all-knowing style. Out went leaders respected and known. No values, no trust, just a chair and a throne. Forget all that teamwork, forget all that law. Let's pick out new curtains, a new paint, a new floor. By the way, has anybody watched a press conference or they did these impromptu Q&As with reporters in the Oval Office? Has anybody noticed what the Oval Office looks like now? I mean, this is a future episode of Hoarders waiting to happen. There is so many trinkets, so much memorabilia. There are flags from all of the branches of the military in there. There's just gold painted crap and yes, I have it on good authority that a lot of the gold, air quote, stuff that you see on the wall is actually just gold painted stuff that had been someone actually did a TikTok that showed like all the trinkets on the wall and on the mantle of the fireplace and where those can be bought elsewhere, and obviously painted gold. And a doddering, crazy old man that occupies that office wearing his hats with his 3-line messages on it. Trump was right about everything. By the way, I love how Gavin Newsom is now trolling him with his own merch that basically mocks and mimics all. Anyway, I'm totally falling off course here. Back to the Cobb story. To me, there's so many layers to it that it's almost impossible to really dive into it and give it a thorough conversation. I don't really even find it to be necessary. What I do find to be a bit unnecessary is that the Cobb County GOP decided to respond to the Cobb Democratic Party releasing a statement decrying the cartoon. Megan Webb Grout is not, she's not on the Cobb GOP board or anything like that. So why did the Cobb GOP feel the need to weigh in as the Cobb County Democratic Party chose to defend one of their elected officials? Essence Johnson releasing the statement that said 8 months ago, the people of Cobb County made history by electing a new district attorney, a black woman chosen by the voters to lead our justice system with integrity and vision. That decision reflected the will of the people, the promise of progress, and the strength of our democracy. Yet, instead of respecting that choice, some have resorted to the oldest and most dangerous tactics: ridicule, caricature, and racist mockery. Essence's statement continues. A Facebook post by Cobb attorney Megan Webb Grout, now circulating, features an AI-generated cartoon depicting our elected district attorney as a clown, an image titled D.A. Allen Circus. The image revives Jim Crow-era propaganda once used to diminish black leadership, especially black women in power. We must also be honest about why such attacks are so brazen now. Since the election of Donald Trump, racism and white nationalism have been emboldened in ways not seen in decades. What once hid in the shadows has become front-facing, encouraged by leaders who trade in division and dehumanization. There's more to the post, and I'll share it in the show notes at ronshowatl.com today. However, Mary Clarice Hathaway, the chairwoman of the Cobb Republican Party, for some reason decided she needed to respond, even though neither she nor her party were accused of anything. She wrote, on August 21st, Essence Johnson, chairwoman of the Cobb County Democratic Committee, released a statement regarding a political cartoon that targeted DA Sonia Allen. In her press release, she stated that, quote, since the election of Donald Trump, racism and white nationalism have been emboldened in ways not seen in decades. She also states that, quote, when we allow Jim Crow tactics to go unchecked, we weaken the very foundation of our community. So Mary Clarice goes on, the truth is that since the re-election of President Donald Trump, America has been back to winning! Exclamation point. Again, a matter of perspective. His historic election broke barriers of all kinds, but the most notable was the race barrier. His vote margins in the Hispanic community, and then, it goes into the gains that he made. But what does that have to do with what's actually happened since he's been sworn into office, Mary Clarice? The truth, in all caps, she goes, is that since his election, President Trump has delivered for the American people, and not just those that supported him, but all, caps, Americans. The border is closed. False. Our country is safer. False. The economy is improving. Big time false. And the American people feel it in their wallets. Oh, they feel it all right. Power bills and rising prices and tariff-induced rising prices. Oh, man. Yeah, we're feeling it. While he's negotiating great trade deals with other countries, and he is working tirelessly to end unnecessary wars and international conflicts. How's that going, by the way? Mary Clarice, in this response, though, wasn't done embarrassing herself with her historical and current event inaccuracies. Fine. I'll continue diving in when the Ron Show returns. It's America One Radio, Progressive Voices via TuneIn.
Broadcasting 5 days a week to make common sense common again. This is The Ron Show on America One Radio.
So if you're just diving into the show, listening on America One Radio, Progressive Voices via TuneIn, here's what's happening. There was a cartoon, like how many tiles did I say it was? It was like 17 tile, 16-page cartoon distributed by Megan Webb Grout, an attorney in Cobb County who is a defense attorney, I'm not even sure she's an attorney. She's the owner of the law firm. And, it says here in her profile, she is a defense attorney. So there's that. Anyway, complaining about God knows what. I guess the leadership style of the new Cobb County District Attorney, the first African-American woman elected to that role. Sound familiar, Fulton County, DA, Fonnie Willis? And there is some mentioning of Nathan Wade even in this. Anyway, this cartoon depicts Sonia Allen as an obese clown. The newly elected district attorney, who is a Democrat, has been on the job 7 months, and there have been staff changes. And someone wanted a public records request for salary information, I guess, to show that there's alleged cronyism. She's hiring her friends, and the ADAs, the assistant district, are making only so much money and blah, blah. Listen, these salaries are all public information anyway. If the general public wants to know it, they can. It's not a big secret. It's the floating it on social media to concoct this narrative that is sort of dangerous because the general public, in general, doesn't really give a what individual salaries look like in government like that. It's just this is like trying to create a kerfuffle to add on to the already tough job of taking on a new office with 100 or more employees and trying to establish yourself. And so you have this Megan Webb Grout who says someone sent her this cartoon. Someone just sent her the cartoon, apparently, because she was the only one distributing it. But she doesn't know who made it. Or, I'm sorry, she won't reveal who made it. And it wasn't her. Someone sent it to her. Okay. Anyway, Essence Johnson, the chair of the Cobb County Democratic Party, went to defend her newly elected Democrat district attorney. And called out the mockery, the caricaturization, and called it a Jim Crow style tactic. Now, you may agree or disagree that there's a racial element to it, but like when you go through the cartoon, like you only see, all women that are being depicted as clowns, first of all, and most of them are African-American women. Okay, well, why is that? I guess because they're the elected African-American women or the appointed cronies, air quotes, of Sonia Allen, who, again, has been on this job all of 7 months. And the funny thing is, what really cracks me up is, like, you could take Sonia Allen's name out of this, replace Cobb DA with White House or West Wing, Oval Office. You could take Sonia's name, replace it with Donald Trump, and the cartoon would hold. Put Megan Webb Grout doesn't want to talk about that. The Cobb County GOP wouldn't want to share that. But what they did do is, for some reason, inject themselves into this conversation. They weren't cited. They weren't accused. Megan Webb Grout was. And the Cobb Democratic Party chair decided to defend the district attorney, which, I mean, wouldn't most party leaders do that? For some reason, the Cobb GOP decided Mary Clarice Hathaway, who, by the way, is the chair of the Cobb GOP. The first vice chair is also a Hathaway. Jeff Jr. Is that her son? Brother? It's hard to tell. Anyway, Mary Clarice Hathaway decided she needed to pipe in and goes off on this, ill-begotten rant about, all the things that's happening since Donald Trump was elected, and to try, not even really diving into the substance of what's happening in Cobb County, but she decides she wants to tout the Trump 2.0 GOP bona fides gains made with voters of color. The truth, she writes, is that President Trump truly has widened the tent of the Republican Party, and he is the president for all people. Ms. Johnson, Essex Johnson, Democratic Party chair, might need to be reminded that it was Southern white Democrats that supported and passed the awful Jim Crow laws that kept the black community from having the same rights as the white community. Oh, my God. Yes, those were conservatives, ma'am. Mary Clarice, those were conservatives. Liberals, progressives have never run roughshod over the South, ma'am. They're always conservatives in positions of leadership. Surely Mary Clarice Hathaway has some awareness of the ideological shift since then. But of course, they don't like to bring that up because it doesn't look well when they're making these dumb arguments. She goes, it's also important to note that the dissent written for the historic case Plessy v. Ferguson, which established the, quote, separate but equal ruling that upheld Jim Crow laws, was written by Justice John Marshall Harlan, who was a Republican. Again, in the era, oh man. He stated that our Constitution is colorblind and neither knows nor tolerates classes among citizens. Then explain to me why, when Donald Trump was sworn into office, the attack on DEI, which, by the way, uplifted women, American U.S. service veterans, and women of color. First and foremost, those are the three classes of diversity that most benefited from DEI. Explain to me why then Donald Trump targeted DEI measures. Oh, yeah. Here she goes. The Republican Party, the party of Lincoln. Okay. That was 160 years ago. Again, ideological shifts, right? We are the party of faith, family, freedom, opportunity, and safety. Oh, yeah. All of that while your president, the indicted, convicted felon, apparently on the Epstein files so much that the FBI has been busy redacting his name from it ever since. Freedom. Freedom, unless you teach college courses, in which case, Professor, we want your syllabus online so that our MAGA trolls can scream bloody murder about all the wokeism involved in it and make your life a living hell. Yeah, that kind of freedom, huh? Mary Clarice Hathaway. Opportunity. The opportunities that are disappearing with the evisceration of those diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, I suppose. Okay. And safety? I mean, here's the thing. I asked this question over the weekend. Okay, so cool. Donald Trump's got National Guard troops in Washington, D.C. He's threatening to do it in New York and Chicago. By the way, he's only doing this in major cities in blue states. I don't know why he's deciding not to go to places like Memphis, Tennessee, which leads U.S. cities with a violent crime rate estimated around 2,349 violent crimes per 100,000 residents. Tennessee's a red state. St. Louis, Missouri. St. Louis has the second highest violent crime rate in the country, about 1,932 violent crimes per 100,000. Oh, yeah. Missouri, red state. Little Rock, Arkansas, about 1,646 violent crimes per 100,000 population. We're not sending National Guard troops to those cities, though. We're sending National Guard troops to Washington and Chicago and New York, the cities that are troped by the GOP, violent crime and blah, 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 blah. Here's the thing. When the troops leave, though, they say whatever it is they're trying to tamp the violent crime statistics to look like. When those troops leave, what has been done to deal with what causes crime? Lack of opportunity, right? The lack of opportunity, the economic instability that has come since essentially white flight. What happens when those troops are gone? Has crime been solved? No. It's been temporarily suppressed. This is, I think, something of if Democrats can look at this with a silver lining, this is something of a microcosm of tactics to handle crime, to address crime. And listen, Democrats have been half-measured in what they seek to do and have been obstructed in many cases as well. If you are a Democratic mayor in a major city with a Republican governor, well, you're kind of there's just only so much you can do, right? And you have to have these district attorneys, these Sonia Allens, these Fonnie Willises, who have to rack up convictions with laws that they didn't design, that they didn't draft, but in states like Georgia, the GOP legislature did, these tough on crime policies and laws that, again, don't address the inequality that created the crime in the first place. Crime exists where opportunity doesn't. And no National Guard unit, for how long they stay there, is going to be tasked with addressing that. Arming your National Guard in Washington, D.C. doesn't address the inequality of opportunity. But, okay. It's a false sense of safety. It's theatrics. It really is. This is theatrics. And this is what, Trump loves. He loves a good show. Remember, he made his name shortly before politics in theatrics. The Celebrity Apprentice, right? He is a TV show hawk, and that's what he loves. He loves making shows. This is all performative stuff. So, okay, fine. We'll give you your safety for right now. But when the show's over, when the curtain's drawn and the troops aren't there anymore, what's been done to address the inequality that seeds the crime that grows into the crop that shows itself again? Mary Clarice Hathaway, by the way, at the Cobb GOP, goes on to talk about this morning. I listened to a young, sharp, brilliant 19-year-old black man talk about his move from the party of Jim Crow laws to the Republican Party. So he went from the conservatives to the conservatives. Okay. He's very proudly stated that the party that I thought was old, white, rich men overwhelmingly elected a young black 19-year-old kid as the assistant secretary of the Georgia GOP back in June. I mean, that's great. Listen, I love hearing young people, especially I love hearing young people want to participate in governance and want to have an active role in their political party. I certainly hope that 19-year-old assistant secretary will speak up when he sees injustice. And it would be welcome within that GOP. That would be something. It really would. Versus pretending it doesn't exist. Here's the thing that drives me nuts about Republicans who like to shine a light on the occasional African American, the Candace Owen types, the Hoge twins. They love to shine a light. Look, this black person doesn't see it the way the overwhelming majority of black people do. So obviously, it's the overwhelming majority of black people who are wrong, and this one person is right. If you go to a cookout and you've got that one person overseeing the grill, and he or she has 50 burgers on that grill, right? Burns 49 of them. Are you going to rave about how good the chef is because that one burger turned out good? Or are you going to notice that the other 49 were charred beyond reproach, inedible, right? Are you going to notice that? Are we going to pretend that chef is a great chef because one hamburger out of 49 came out good? Well, what's that do for the folks that need to eat, the 49 that need to eat? I mean, the one person's like, oh my God, this is the best burger I've had in my life. Well, there's 49 other people who are hungry. It doesn't compute. It doesn't track, right? Yeah. Okay, but congrats for the 19-year-old assistant secretary of the Georgia GOP in June, who Mary Clarice says this young man holds one of the highest offices in the Georgia GOP and represents the future of the party. I am legitimately happy for him and hopeful he will, in that role, speak out as a black man, a young black man, when he sees what his party is doing that runs afoul of his best interests as a young black man who I assume is heading to college or in college while student loan forgiveness goes away, while efforts to bridge the the familial wealth gap are done away with, while gender pay equity and gender and racial pay equity continue to be a problem in this country, while the hyper-policing of communities of color continue to run unabated, while disparities in the judicial system continue to be protected by the party that he is now firmly implanted in. I certainly hope from that position that young 19-year-old assistant secretary of the state GOP does well for himself and his people. I just have to wonder if that young man is okay with seeing people of color caricaturized or demonized or unfairly ostracized instead of being celebrated for crashing through a glass ceiling that existed in Cobb County. I wonder, would he at least celebrate that, or would he just openly dismiss it as plantation-style politicking? It's The Ron Show, America One Radio, Progressive Voice, via tune in. Final segment of today's Ron Show. First, let's talk about the latest pearl clutchery from the right. Oh my God, what have they done with the Cracker Barrel logo and painted the walls white and made it brighter in their restaurant? Ah! My God. Watching as people have lost their over a logo and decor change has really been quite something. The folks who smugly called empathetic, emotive liberals that they disagree with politically snowflakes are giving us a blizzard of outrage. Am I right? My God. Listen, I grew up loving a good Cracker Barrel stop. I mean, it really, in my day, it meant that the family was going somewhere because there weren't many of these locations. Like, it was usually like to the mountains or to Atlanta, and we would stop through the Cracker Barrel on the way, right? The one on I-20, just outside the loop. Oh, that was a stop for us, right? There were only 50 or so locations in 8 states back then. Now you can find a Cracker Barrel in more than 650 locations in 43 U.S. states. It was unique then, and not so much now. But this isn't me just railing on Cracker Barrel. Although Cracker Barrel once floated an internal memo advocating the termination of out gay people, and its shareholders wouldn't approve a non-discrimination policy until 2002. It settled a Justice Department suit in 2004 after being alleged to have discriminated against minority customers. The folks who are having problems now with the logo change and the decor at the Cracker Barrel, the ones howling like scalded dogs today, they didn't care about that stuff. They didn't care about those injustices. A logo change, though, brighter walls. Oh, get these people their fainting couch. And somehow this is about wokeism with them. I don't see that either. I really don't. I don't see it. I also want to share a point of privilege here. I don't often go to radio things. I'm not really a radio guy, believe it or not. I worked in it for 28 years and I got out, and I'm pretty happy with that decision. Though I do some dabbling here and there, like I voice track on the weekend for a station for some friends of mine, mostly just to keep the tools sharp, right? I was invited to actually the Friends of Georgia Radio Hall of Fame induction ceremony over the weekend. And I was invited by none other than conservative radio host out of Augusta, Georgia, Austin Rhodes. He and I have known each other since I worked in Augusta Radio. And we're sort of like frenemies, I guess. When he cites me on a show, he calls me his buddy Ron, the liberal. And I'm sure he says some other things. But we don't disagree. We don't agree on much. We really don't. Cats and Star Trek, those are the two things. Like we agree to disagree, and not even always civilly so. Because I just don't hold back. You've heard my show. You know this. I don't hold back. I call a spade a spade. If somebody says something that is ignorant, I say it's ignorant. If I think somebody has said something that's racist, I'm not calling them a racist. I'm saying they said something racist or typed something or posted. That's who I am. And he's taken umbrage to that on a number of occasions. But we're talking about Southern conservatism, right? And those who peddle in that on their shows or in their writing, like it's... You call it for what it is. Anyway, we don't often agree on much. But he invited me, and I was actually uncomfortable accepting the invitation. Because I was like, oh, man, you need to invite a table full of people. He had a table. You need to invite a table full of people who are there to celebrate you. I don't feel like I would. And that's petty on my part, I guess. It didn't feel right to take up the invite. And I actually had some other commitments as well, some that fell by the wayside. But again, Austin and I were like feral cats in a sack. We don't get along. Nonetheless, a friend of mine, Benji, stayed on me about going. He is on the board for the Friends of Georgia Radio. And I'm going to be honest, I really enjoyed myself. I got to see my old general manager from Athens, Georgia, Sanders Hickey, for the first time in like 3 decades. Good to see him. We're going to catch up and have lunch. I saw my old program director in Augusta, Bruce Stevens, and his lovely wife, Joan. Love them. It was good to see them. It really was soul-soothing, right? I bounced around and shook hands with folks like the radio legend Mike McVeigh. Anybody who knows radio knows Mike McVeigh. Dude's a legend. It was great to catch up with him. He stayed to soak in the entire night, too, when he could have made a token appearance and bailed. As, by the way, Bert Weiss did. He of the Bert Show fame, of course. The guy who introduced him, Blake Eason, a former intern, now an anchor in Milwaukee, he like that little they just took off right after Bert got his. And of course, Rodney Ho from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution went right there after him, fangirling away, taking pictures and selfies, and then went to Facebook to bristle, chortle, I guess, that Bert's name had been misspelled. That was the whole story for Rodney Ho at the AJC. Good grief, man! Get your tongue off the boots, for crying out loud. Do your job. The job would have been, I think, to stay there and hear everybody, but that's not, Rodney Ho works for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, and so all the other radio legends that were there being honored didn't get the same dignified sit there and listen to the speech that they gave Bert Weiss. Anyway, I'm not going to spend too much time on that. What Austin said, though, in a post that he shared, he largely said to the mostly still full room, and he didn't have to, and he could have taken this guy and I spar all the time, why should I give him an ounce of time to him route. Instead, he made it a point to finger wag at the Atlanta radio bigwigs who know who I am, know how to reach me, have heard from me, and have largely kept me off their radar. I'm going to read to you a portion of what he said, and I shared it on my personal Facebook. I'll do what I can to get it on the show page as well. He said, Ron Roberts was there as well, and I made it a special effort to remind the room full of ATL radio executives that the most knowledgeable and most talented left-wing talk show host I have ever heard crack a mic was sitting right there in the room with us. Ron is currently working to find wider distribution for his amazing but misguided, LOL, daily program. And it's a sin against God and nature that this man is not currently on the air in Georgia's largest city. He has unsurpassed local and regional political knowledge and sharp professional technical broadcast skills, 2 very different skill sets that are never wrapped up in the same brain, but they are with Ron. You get it all with Ron Roberts, a talk radio superstar in the making. That was, again, he and I don't agree on squat politically. He didn't have to do that in a moment that was all about him, and yet he did. And I can't help but appreciate that and like to think that we could all find it within ourselves as fellow Americans to at least have a kind of respect that Austin showed me, at least in that moment. A big moment of his own, but it was. And he's worked 3+ decades to earn it. I'm uncertain if I'd have done the same, honestly, and it made me do some soul searching too. Respectful dialogue, respectful disagreement, respectful pushback. Sure, we have to take the fights in equal sums to our ideological opposites, but we have to also maintain our humanity and with each other too, right? And listen, it's a tap dance. Days come where you'd rather not piss on someone than put them out if they were on fire. But we have to find ourselves being civil too when the moment infrequently comes. The media bigwigs in Atlanta, they're not going to heed his words, and that's fine. I'm doing my own thing. Between Audio ATL, this show, they're all parts of a bigger plan. And they'll maybe look back in a decade, these bigwigs, and say, oh, that Austin Rhodes guy was right. Do you know how much it pains me to say that? Those that know me know how painful it is just to have uttered those words. So here I go, man. Thanks, Austin. That was very nice of you. And just goes to show you, a broke clock is spot on occasionally. Anyway, congrats on the honor. It was well earned. I'll give you that. As wrong as you are and mostly have been for most of the 30 years that you've been on the air, you have at least done the job asked of you, tasked of you quite well. That radio station that you're on, an AM signal in Augusta, Georgia, which, by the way, now has an FM signal as well, was, when I was a kid, an afterthought for most people. And while the Rush Limbaugh era may have opened the door for you, Rush Limbaugh's been gone quite a while now, and that station keeps on keeping on with its afternoon host pulling the wagon. Anyway, congrats to him. That'll do it for today's Ron Show. Everything you heard me talk about, there'll be citations in the show notes at ronshowatl.com. Back tomorrow, 9 a.m., 5 p.m. on America One Radio, 11 p.m. Progressive Voices via TuneIn or wherever you podcast. Have a great one.